All right, folks, so the New York Jets season is over, and the New York Giants are going to the playoffs. Let's discuss. Welcome aboard, everybody. Here, Michael Cohen with you here on the Sports Talk Nation. It is now the end of Week 17 here in the 2022 season. Yes, even though there is a week left to go in the regular season, the playoff fates of both the Jets and Giants, of course, now determined as the Jets. Their season's now over following their 23-6 loss to the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday, and of course the Giants advanced into the playoffs after they destroyed the Indianapolis Colts by a score of 38-10. Now, we'll get to the Giants in a minute. Now, as far as the Jets are concerned, there's really not much to say about the game. There really isn't. The Jets looked unprepared. They looked like a team that just wasn't ready to be on the field. Their offense, again, this time even with Mike White at quarterback, who did not play well, threw two big interceptions in this game, but I'm not going to pin all the blame on him for this because I still think in some ways he's dealing with that rib injury as well. So you have to keep that in mind. But the Jets just did not answer the call. They couldn't do anything offensively. They couldn't sustain any long drives. Only getting 2 field goals in the game, had 3 field goal attempts. Their defense couldn't stop anybody. Couldn't stop anyone. Kenneth Walker, the third, ran roughshod all over that Jet defense, 133 yards rushing, including a 60-yard run that started the ball game. Geno Smith gets revenge as he punches back on the Jets. A little irony in there, of course. As he beats the Jets, throws 2 touchdown passes as he gets even and knocks his former team out of the playoffs. So it really was never a close game. It just never felt like a game that the Jets could get back into because they were just totally out of it. They really were. So for the Jets, as I said, it's not about this. It's not about basically it's not about this game because we knew that this team was on the spiral going out and missing the playoffs anyway, and now it's just official. This team is going to be out. The question is, what is next for the New York Jets? What's going to happen over the coming months as they go into the offseason? I know a lot of people have brought up the head coach. Here's my thought on that. Robert Saleh, I still think is a good head coach. I still think he's a good head coach for his football team. I do question the offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur. I would not be opposed to changing the offensive coordinator or even bringing in another quarterback guru to be a quarterback coach. Either way, that's what they should do as far as the coaching staff is concerned. I think consistency is very important, and as far as the Jets are concerned, Robert Saleh has really started to change the culture for this team. They played well for the first half of this season. Obviously, the end of the year did not go the way anybody would have liked. We could debate how the Jets benched Zach Wilson over the course of the year. The fact is they had really no choice in my mind. I thought overall Robert Saleh has done a good job with this team. And it's day and night compared to what the Jets went through with Adam Gase, for that matter, and even Todd Bowles. So, to me, Robert Saleh is the answer for this team, and I want to see what he and Joe Douglas can do now moving forward in another offseason, and in an offseason where they have to fix this offensive line, and in an offseason where they have to figure out the quarterback situation. Now, there was a story before the game on Sunday that said, basically just did a 180 on the story that Jay Glazer had a week ago, where Jay Glazer said the Jets were going to move on from Zach Wilson. Well, the story by Ian Rappaport on Sunday morning saying the Jets may not move on from Zach Wilson, that in fact they may hold on to him for another season. Now, whether that happens or not, who knows? The fact is, right now, Zach Wilson has no trade of value. You look at the way his body of work over the last 2 seasons now, the fact that he has not shown great improvement, issues with pocket awareness, issues certainly with his footwork. The Jets are not exactly going to get a third or a second or third round pick here with the way Zach Wilson has performed so far this season, at least at the moment. So I do understand from that standpoint, but the big thing is this, and if you read on in the article from Ian Rappaport, it's all about finances. It's all about finances, folks. When it comes down to these things, it's always about the money. Wilson has a 4-year contract with the Jets that he signed when he got drafted for $35 million, all of it fully guaranteed. He's already made $23 million from that contract. That was upfront cost. Okay, part of the signing bonus. The Jets are due Wilson about a little less than $9.5 million over the next 2 years. This year, 2023, and next year. That's what they owe him. So it's not going to be very easy to unload him with that $9.5 million price tag, considering how poorly he has played the last year and really the last 2 years with that much money. So that's what that says right now. So they're going to hold on to him for now. Maybe they'll make a move by the trade deadline, by the draft. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll make the move during the summer. Who knows? But the fact is this: the Jets need an answer at quarterback. I still like Mike White. I'm not sure if he's the answer at quarterback, for that matter. Would I be opposed to bringing back Mike White on a contract, maybe as a backup? Absolutely. As was mentioned by the website, theheavy.com, certainly White's performance in this game did not help his stock as far as getting a big contract, long-term deal. Totally understand that. But I would not be opposed to bringing Mike White back here as someone who can compete for the starting job, if not be the backup on this team. But the fact is, the Jets need a veteran here. Enough with drafting quarterbacks. Enough with falling in love with these college quarterbacks that come out of these schools. Get a veteran in here, whether it be Jimmy Garoppolo, whether it be Derek Carr, whether it be, although it's a shot in the dark, of course, and I'm not too thrilled with it as far as his injuries are concerned, his injury history. And there's a good chance the Ravens are going to franchise him anyway. I know a lot of people are going to mention Lamar Jackson. He's a free agent, potential free agent out there. And other names, another name out there as an unrestricted free agent would be Baker Mayfield. Now, Derek Carr is interesting because he is not a free agent. The Jets would have to trade for him. He has 3 seasons left on his contract. He is not an unrestricted free agent until 2026. So the Jets would have to, or certainly the Raiders would have to either make a decision, I would think certainly by June, whether they want to cut him, and depending on what kind of salary cap hit, that would affect them. So it won't be so easy to get Derek Carr, at least from the financial standpoint, but he's certainly a viable option out there. And the fact is this: whether it be Carr, whether it be Jimmy Garoppolo, who's an unrestricted free agent, whether it be Baker Mayfield, any one of those guys, and I'm being honest here, any one of those guys would be an improvement over what the Jets have right now. They have good players. They have a good core. You got a candidate for Rookie of the Year offensively in Garrett Wilson. You got a candidate for Defensive Rookie of the Year in Sauce Gardner. Yeah, Breece Hall was most likely going to come back off a knee injury, and he was the Rookie of the Year candidate before he got hurt. Elijah Vera Tucker is going to come back. Mekhi Becton, I have no idea what he's going to be. That's where the Jets have to adjust offensive line. So the Jets have good players. They have good pieces. They need a quarterback. They have a good coach. They just need a quarterback. That's what they need, and that's really what the focus has to be for Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, and this Jets front office as they move into the offseason. Now, ironically, and as I turn a page here to the Giants, remember when at the start of the year, and everyone was discussing about which team was better off right now, was the Jets or the Giants? Jets or the Giants? Jets right now look like they're in better position to win right away. Giants are kind of rebuilding. They're trying to figure out what they want to do with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. And David Gettleman was so terrible. He had these horrible drafts. And anybody saying that now? I don't think so. Giants dominated the Colts 38-10. And Daniel Jones, and there was another report this morning that the Giants are very much interested in bringing back both Jones and Saquon Barkley on long-term deals. And I would agree, the Giants have to do that. It's ironic in a way because I've heard so many people, even as recently as this past week, saying, again, Daniel Jones, terrible draft pick, terrible. Why did the Giants do this? David Gettleman, his legacy, yes, David Gettleman's legacy certainly tarnished by the coaches he brought in, Joe Judge, Pat Shurmur, but as far as those 2 players he picked, Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones, I have to say it, have to admit it, folks, he hit a home run on those guys. And what the fact is, when the Giants made those changes, when the front office made those changes, getting Gettleman and Judge out of here, and bringing in Brian Dable, bringing in Joe Shane, bringing in two guys that knew each other from Buffalo, bringing in a culture of winning from Buffalo here to the metropolitan area in New York, New Jersey. It has worked out well for the Giants, and they are now a playoff team. And they're going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs, no doubt about it. Jones, again, he has shown great composure at quarterback this year. We all know he has a strong arm, but this time he is cut down on the turnovers, and he's throwing big. He's of course making big plays with his arm, even bigger plays with his legs. Ran for 91 yards on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. Scored 2 touchdowns. He has been all world for the Giants, and in a lot of ways, he has been their MVP this year. You can make the case that Kayvon Thibodeau has been the MVP of that defense, especially here down the stretch with the way he played against Washington and even in this game against the Colts as well, where, I hate to admit it, he did knock out Nick Foles there. Kind of a little classist with the Snow Angels, but still, you get the point. But the fact is, this is a Giants team that has taken on the embodiment of their coach in Brian Daboll. They feels like the Giants of old. It feels like the Giants under the Coughlin years, where they were tough defensively, and even if they didn't have big superstars on the offensive side of the ball, they just knew how to get the job done. Daniel Jones always reminded me of a poor man's Eli Manning, and starting to show up right now for this Giants team. And not to mention, they now have weapons as well. Guys like Richie James, Isaiah Hodgins now stepping up in recent weeks for the Giants, and that's why they put themselves in position to get to the playoffs. Now, who will they play is going to be very interesting. They play the Eagles this week to end the regular season next Sunday. Eagles need that game not just for the division. They're still fighting for the division right now, but they're also still fighting for a number 1 seed. Can you imagine if the Giants walk in there, knock them down a peg, and the Eagles lose the division to the Cowboys and end up as a wild card? That could very well happen. So the Giants could do some damage to the Eagles next week. We'll see if the Giants go all out in that game. And then, of course, going into the wild card round, who will the Giants face? Will it be Minnesota? Will it be San Francisco? Obviously, the Giants know they can compete with anybody, but we know they can compete very well with Minnesota. They should have won that game a couple of weeks ago, and they would feel really good about themselves going back to Minnesota, take on a Viking team that is really Jekyll and Hyde and has gotten very lucky in a lot of games this year. San Francisco with Brock Purdy, who has basically been Tom Brady 2.0 with the way he's been playing. He's 4-0 as a starter. That's a good team, San Francisco. They might be going to they might be a Super Bowl team this year. But that would be an intriguing matchup to see the Giants go into San Fran to take on the 49ers if that should come to pass. So for the Giants, they are in great position, not just right now being in the postseason, but in the future as well, because they now realize they have, with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, they have now seen what this team is capable of. They know where they can improve this team moving forward. Obviously, you want to maybe improve at wide receiver and offensive line, add more to get more help on the defensive side as well, and linebacker and secondary. But the biggest thing for them is going to, of course, be re-signing Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. And my gut is they'll find a way to get those two guys back in town on long-term deals. So for Big Blue, it's a good start to the new year. For the Jets, not so much. Like and subscribe, folks, and we'll talk to you next time. Happy New Year.